Thank you. If everyone could do me a favor, please, and close your eyes. And I need you to picture, if you will, you're standing on a corner. And standing on this corner with you is a guy. And he has a piece of torn cardboard in his hands. On this cardboard are the words written, "Homeless, please help." You look into his eyes, and they're bloodshot red. Maybe from a lack of sleep, maybe from doing drugs. You look at his face, he's unshaven. His hair is uncut, uncombed. You look down at his clothes. They're dingy, they're dirty, they're tattered, they're torn. And then suddenly, that smell hits you. That smell that says, I haven't bathed in a week or two. Now open your eyes. That guy was me. See, I spent 30 years as an alcoholic and an addict. I spent 17 years homeless. I remember the first day I ever went to the shelter. Once they got me processed in, the lady behind the counter, she said, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing here? You don't belong here." See, right at that moment, I wasn't dressed like them, so I didn't look like them. But the fact of the matter, I did belong there. See, my choices and my decisions put me there. While I didn't grow up in that way of life, I would quickly adapt to it. And I became like everyone else, complacent, comfortable, and content. And I would want nothing more than to sit there and to be taken care of. I remember the first day I ever ate out of a trash can. I felt so repulsed by it. In the beginning, I would wait till the wee hours of the morning, and I would go downtown Dallas and go trash can to trash can looking for food. I would wait till that time because I wanted no one to see me. Until one Saturday evening, about 11:30, the party goers were going back and forth, and there I am, digging in the trash. But all that would change for me in June of 2016 because of a random act of kindness. A good deed, if you will. See, I had begun selling these homeless newsletters, and there was a conference going on at the convention center downtown Dallas. And I was there at this time. I don't know who the person was that was hosting the conference, nor the type of people that were attending. But I quickly found out that they were nice because they were buying papers. But it was a problem. It was hot. It was 104, 105 outside. So that third day of the conference, that Saturday morning, I figured I'd get there early to beat the heat. And I got there about 8 o'clock, and I started right by the doors. But I had no luck. Nobody wanted to speak to me. So I move a block away, and I'm standing at the corner. It's a group of people waiting for the light to change. Instantly, I think to myself, I got action. Somebody's going to buy a paper. The light changed. The first person crossed. I say, "Pardon me. Good morning, sir." He says, "Good morning." Before I could say anything else, he threw his hand up, and he kept walking. No problem. I turn around and speak to the next person. "Pardon me. Good morning, sir." That person didn't speak at all. The worst thing that ever happened to me while I was out there was for a person not to speak to me, not to acknowledge me. Even after I look them right in the eyes and be as polite as I can, they would just walk right on by. So right at that moment, I felt dejected, and I dropped my head. I heard someone say, "Hey," and I look up. It's that first person. He had stopped. He says, "Come here." He got a couple of bucks in his hands. I start smiling. He said, "Now listen, I'm going to give you this. What you need it for, what you use it for, I don't know, and I don't care." He said, "But you got to make me a promise that you find a way to pay it forward." He says, "When you pay it forward is when your true blessings come." I said, "Wow, thank you, sir. However, can I explain to you what street zine is?" See, I didn't want him to think that I was panhandling or asking for something for nothing. He said, "Sure." When I got through explaining it to him, he says, "You know what? I want to apologize to you." He says, "I'm an advocate for the homeless, and the last thing I want to do is be disrespectful." He said, "Do you mind if I take your picture?" I say, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" See, I come to realize two things I'm supposed to do. That's love God and love his people. So what more can someone who has nothing offer other than prayer? I prayed for him, and he videotaped it. When I got through, he went on about his way. I stayed there another 10, 15 minutes. Still didn't have no luck. So I went back up to the convention center. As I'm walking up the steps, a lady that I had met the night before motions me to come have a seat beside her and she's on her phone, and she's texting. She says, listen, I got to go inside and see someone. You're not going anywhere, are you? I said, I'll be right here. She said, I'll be right back. She goes inside to see this guy who just so happened is watching the video of me pray for this other guy. As it turns out, they were all crew members for the person hosting the conference, Tony Robbins. They bring this guy out, and they introduce me to him. He said, let's go inside. I'm thinking, he's like, let's get out the heat because it was hot. He walks me over to the registration table, and he registers me to attend the last 2 days of this conference. They sit me in the VIP section. I went in my seat 5 minutes, and someone walked up to me. Here, you're going to need this, some food. Somebody right behind them with some water. Someone right behind them with a blanket. Instantly, I started thinking to myself, who are these people? Right. How do they know me? But most importantly, what do they want from me? I would quickly find out they wanted nothing from me. Instead, they wanted something for me. And that was an opportunity at a new way of life, a new way of living. That final day, that fourth day of the conference, I'm standing at the food court, and someone walks up to me. Now, this guy doesn't have a participant lanyard on. He doesn't have a crew shirt on, so I really don't know who he is. And he asked me, he said, so where are you at out here? I'm thinking he's talking about what corner I stand on to sell my papers. He says, no, what shelter you stay in? So I look at him, and I tell him, and I explain to him, now that's far from here. You're not used to walking. I said, me, I walk all the time. I can make it. He kind of laughed. He said, so what type of work you do? I said, customer service. What's up? He said, will you do anything else? I said, I'll push a broom. You know somebody who's hiring. He hands me his business card. He said, listen, I'll be out of the office till Wednesday. Give me a call Wednesday morning, and I'm going to come down here and pick you up. I'm thinking to myself, yes. So that Tuesday after the conference, the guy that I prayed for gave me a call. He said, have you went on Facebook? I said, no. He said, go on Facebook and call me back. I go on Facebook, and the crew has started a GoFundMe page to help pay for my housing. I called the guy, and I meet him. He meets me downtown Dallas for lunchtime that Wednesday. When I get in the car, this is what he says. Before he puts it in drive, he said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in a hotel till I find you an apartment. You're not going back to the shelter. And I started thinking to myself, wow. See, what I understood is this. They understood the magnitude of my homelessness, but they did not understand the magnitude of my addiction and my alcoholism. So I started rationalizing to myself, you got to go get help. And I would go in and out of treatment facilities, but I could never sustain any type of sobriety because I was going for the wrong reasons. See, I was going because I thought that's what they wanted me to do. I was going because I thought that's what I was obligated to do. So the most I could come up with was 30, 40 days, and I would always relapse. Tony Robbins found out what the crew had done, and he went live on social media. He called the crew members out by name, and he thanked them. Then he invited me to come to a different one of his conferences as his personal guest. This was December 2016. I never forget the exact moment my plane was taking off. I remember looking at my watch thinking, yes, they're gone, because I wasn't on it. See, right at that moment, I was in a dope house relapsing. Instantly, the guilt, the shame, and the remorse would just fall on me. And I started thinking to myself, surely they hate you. Surely they just see you as the rest of them that don't want to change. So the more they tried to get close to me, the further I tried to run. Tony Robbins says that in your moments of decisions is when your destiny is shaped. April 17th of 2017, I had a decision to make. It had been raining. I had one newsletter left. I was already wet. My choices were simple. Either try to go downtown and peddle this last newspaper or try to make it to the shelter. I chose the shelter. I got there, and they explained to me that they were full. The shelter manager said, you can come in and get something to eat and dry up a little bit, but after you eat, you got to go. I said, okay, no problem. When it came time for me to go, it was raining harder than it was when I got there. I said, I'm not going to be able to do it. The security said, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to the Oaks. That's Green Oaks, a mental hospital. Now, the only way you can go to Green Oaks, you got to be in jeopardy of harming yourself or someone else. So I told them I wanted to harm myself. They got me to Green Oaks. They got me processed in. I was there maybe an hour or so, and the nurse come to me. She said, excuse me, sir, we're going to have to transfer you. We don't have any room here. I said, what about the VA? She said, are you a veteran? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you never told us. See, I had never told them because it never mattered. I got 2 honorable discharges and 1 bad conduct. And because of the bad conduct, ever since I've been home in 1994, I was never eligible for services at the VA. But when the crew started helping me, a lady down in Austin, one of the crew members, knew something. She had me give my discharge paper to someone in Dallas who got it to her in Austin. And in August of 2016, I received a letter from the VA. We're going to separate your enlistments, recognize your honorable discharge, you're eligible for services. The VA would come pick me up, and they put me on their mental floor. I was there about 4 or 5 days, and the case manager called me in the office. She said, I got a question for you. How would you like to go to Bonham? And I jumped for joy. See, I'd heard about this place called Bonham, Texas. The VA have a rehab facility there, and I'd always wanted to go. Everybody I knew that went there had everything I wanted: sustained sobriety, housing, and employment. I would get to Bonham, Texas, and I would play full out. I would tap into every resource they had, and I would get the things I want: sustained sobriety, housing, employment, even transportation. And then on August 8th of 2019, my world would come crashing down. The very job that I poured my heart into, I was terminated from. I would go home, I would become very depressed and suicidal. So I resorted back to the one thing I knew that could take the pain away, and I relapsed. I would spend the next 2 months lying to myself, telling myself, you got this, you can stop. You did it once, you can do it again. Well, the fact of the matter, I didn't do it on my own the first time. I went and got help. So I made a decision, and I went back into treatment. I just discharged January 6, 2020, 3 weeks ago. So what are your takeaways? 3 things. First and foremost, if you or someone you know is suffering from the disease of addiction or alcoholism, there's hope. See, I understand what it feels like to be out there and to be hopeless. Not helpless, but hopeless. I literally thought I would spend the rest of my life eating out of trash can and doing dope. I thought I would die on those streets. But love brought me out of it. The crew just loved on me until I started loving myself. And today, I do love me. 2, a random act of kindness. I am the product of a random act of kindness. You never know how you'll impact a person's day or life by doing so. Imagine the change, the impact we can have on the world if more of us did random acts of kindness. So I encourage you all, do a good deed, a random act of kindness, for someone who doesn't look like you, who wouldn't hang in your circle. Finally, gratitude. Become more grateful. Develop more of an attitude of gratitude, not for the big things, but for the small things, the everyday stuff, the stuff we take for granted. For me, it's something as simple as a glass of water. See, I remember walking downtown Dallas having no money in my pocket, and since I had no money and nobody give water away, everybody sell water, I had to find a water sprinkler, water in the grass, and bend down on my knees to get something to drink. How often have you went to the pantry or the refrigerator and it's full of food, and then you walk away and say there's nothing in there to eat? While I don't eat out the trash today, I know there's somebody that still is. So today, even if it's just a bologna sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'm grateful for it. How often have you put on a change of clothes or some clean clothes and don't stop to be grateful for it? When the crew started helping me, all the clothes I owned were the clothes I had on my back, and no telling how long I had them on. Today, when I put on a clean pair of underwear, I'm grateful for it. Now, along with these newsletters, we had these bookmarks. On the back of one of the bookmarks was a poem. This poem spoke of me. The title of the poem is called Vision of a Man. Today, I get to be the person speaking the poem. I watch a man move down the walk, a man whom I call friend, a lonely soul who lives outdoors, whose struggles never ends. Belongings in 3 grocery sacks, a clean shirt for today, his long hair streaming down his back. I watch him walk away. Why can't I help him, Lord, I cry. Why can't I fix his pain? There's so much I would like to do, yet there he goes again. Just in the world, the street, the cars, as I stood and watched him go, became a field of diamonds, and I somehow saw the whole. For just one instant, sparkling clear, when time stood still and God was here, A gentle voice in my ear whispered, "It is so much deeper than that." And I saw my friend as perfect. Though broken he appears, I saw my friend as sacred, exactly as he is. He's not in need of fixing, does not call for repair, or people looking through him as if he wasn't there. He doesn't need untangling like a twisted knot of twine, does not require coercing to walk a different line. He does not need a drug, a rule, a class, a pass, a fine. What he requires is caring, and the privilege is mine. Be kind to one another. Thank you.